Good evening. Filming here live from one of my favorite restaurants downtown Toronto. We got out on the patio here. We got the flames are going. The Toronto Raptors. It's my Corvette over there. The yellow one. The Raptors win 97-94 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Close game, obviously, right down to the wire, and gonna get into all the storylines here. It was a tale of two Achuas, definitely. We saw the three center experiment. I just watched Alvin Williams broadcast for a couple hours, so I'm gonna be stuttering for the first little bit here until I regain consciousness. The three center experiment, we saw the what that can do, but you know, basketball's a team game. But at the end of the day, I really thought in the fourth quarter, their OG just like resuscitated, is that the word, brought back to life. Well, I'll get into the chat in a sec too. I'll start reading the chat messages. um but yeah, the Wolves go on a 14-3 run, and at the end of the third, start of the fourth, just you could just feel the energy like completely like slipping. And it felt like the Raptors were going to collapse after this, like, pretty good game overall. And I thought defensively and offensively, OG just like kicked it into a different gear. We'll get into the different plays in particular and stuff. Obviously, at the end there, he came up really big. But yeah, we had Chris Finch coaching this one, and he called on the second last play there, I think, after the timeout. It was basically the Kawhi shot. It was Anthony Edwards doing the Kawhi shot. Didn't work, but I thought that was kind of funny. If that was like, I wonder if that's maybe like what it's called, because it was very very reminiscent of the Kawhi shot. And it's kind of the Bulls also had a weird 3-point shot that was like a low percentage thing that they drew up against the Raptors. So for whatever reason, these teams against the Raptors are drawing up some interesting kind of desperation 3-point plays that were a bit like, okay, that's what you guys are doing with the game on the line. That's interesting. And yeah, well, so we had Bruce from Dragon's Den sitting courtside. I have a personal Dragon's Den story that we can get to at the end as well. But yeah, the Raptors, they came out this one really slow at the beginning, and I just thought that they were like, oh, she's getting up, she's leaving. I just had dinner here. It was really good. I can't remember what I had, but it was really good. And but the three centers at the beginning, I thought were kind of like, well, they started with Gobert and Towns, and just the size was like Scotty didn't get his first bucket until the first minute of the second quarter, and a big reason why is he just kept like going at Gobert, and he did in the third quarter have a really nice finish over Gobert. But yeah, I think he got blocked by Gobert like two or three times there in the first quarter, and they were like, the two center experiment thing was looking really good, and even like Siakam was like 1 for 8. He had some really good plays in transition, but they were really bothering him as well. And it just felt like no one could really get like a ton going there in the beginning. I think Dennis like led the Raptors in scoring. So I felt like throughout the game, he was way more aggressive than we've seen him. He was more like FIBA Dennis tonight. And I hadn't seen that in the first like whatever 4 games as much. That didn't seem to really be like his role necessarily, but I felt like in this game it was his like offensive punch was needed, and he cooked a lot of guys on the perimeter. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and a couple of them was just like, I don't know what he was doing, but he was just like fucked up. Like it wasn't like ankles broken, but he was just like spinning like around, looking, trying to figure out like what like stadium he was in. And Dennis's speed I thought was really on display, especially around the perimeter. And yeah, he was really aggressive and like cooking guys all over the place, and not only like doing it to score, but also with pick and rolls with Scotty as the screener, with Jakob as the screener. And that was kind of the offense at the beginning, but the rim protection that the Wolves had was making that really difficult. But they figured things got figured out in like the end of the first quarter, and the second quarter That's when the Raptors were really cooking. The Bet Rivers ads are back, by the way. I was wondering about that. We didn't see that in the preseason, but the Bet Rivers like take up the whole screen ads are back. They have a new catchphrase now. It's take a chance instead of it's a whole new game. So that's something to watch out for, I guess. I guess it's not a whole new game anymore, and now it's taking a chance. So that's fun. So yeah, Ant also like they had Minnesota. They're the golden child right now of NBA podcasters. Like my God, this team is supposedly going to be like top team in the West. Kevin Pelton, fellow Pacific Northwesterner, I think has them coming out first or second at least in the West. A lot of people are really like predicting big things for this team. I understand it's exciting and like I always like to watch teams that I'm not cheering for try weird unconventional things like having three centers. Or like the Rockets just having everybody under 6'6" back a few years ago, and then the Raptors the 6'9" thing was kind of hard to watch as a fan of the team. Damn it! I took a really good picture of Bobby in the crowd from my TV that I forgot to tweet out. I have a funny joke. Damn it! I just remembered that. But yeah, Bobby was watching. It was this Siakam 3, and Bobby was just like, like interesting, maybe, yeah, interesting. He wasn't like happy or anything. Yeah, the lighting is a bit weird at the restaurant here. Luckily they haven't. I had to got in a few fights with some of the guests. Like this guy over here with the pink shirt. Me and him we're kind of we're fighting before the stream came on. But I spent like $800 there earlier, so they're gonna let me shoot the whole podcast here. The lighting's a bit weird though. Like if you see things going in and out, you can blame the restaurant. So let's talk about smoothness. We've been talking about Scotty smoothness. Also, we got Precious stuff to talk about. There's lots of stuff to talk about in this game. It's the first like real game, but Scotty had a really smooth catch and shoot from Grady Dick, and OG had a few really smooth off the dribble. One of them, I think, and catch and shoot threes. But okay. He also did one so like I've noticed this over the few years with OG. When he takes threes, sometimes his wrist will drift off to the right. This is my like Samson Folk impression. His like wrist on like 20% of his threes, like his wrist will kind of drift off to the right a bit. And like Nick's, shooting program would always talk about like the peace sign being the center of the hand and how you want that to basically like extend into the rim kind of thing. And he had it was a corner three, and he had way too much time, and you could see his brain kind of like going back into that old habit, and it was kind of this like hitch, bit of a jankier shot, and his wrist kind of drifted to the right. But other than that, like that would be an interesting video to do to contrast the two, because when he had to make the quick decision, when he had to make the quick three, it was just like perfect mechanics. He had like his release was straight to the rim, and his threes when they go in like that, they just hit that exact perfect kind of back of the throat, and that's when like the mechanics are perfect. And a lot of the times when he does the kind of wrist off to the side thing, it hits the rim like it's not accurate. And I think that's kind of more so how he shot in college. So I think he just had that bit of extra time when he was in the corner there. That's when your brain kind of goes into stuff. So Precious, yeah, I mean, obviously like highlight reel finishes. There was one play in particular, I think it was Scotty who threw him the pass that it just looked like it wasn't going to happen. And then it almost looked like a comic book in a way where he like was able to reach up, and I potentially could make a video on that play. But yeah, I thought like
highlight reel.
See what the chat's doing. Yeah, so with Precious though, it really was like a tale of two Achiuwas, and obviously his contract situation is a thing right now. Like he was eligible for this extension,
but
and it didn't happen.
I thought like,
and now it's kind of like, I think if they were, I'll read some of the chats in a second.
So with Precious, though,
I think if
it really was like a tale
if they're looking for Pascal,
and obviously
to see how Pascal fits into the system, I mean,
situation is
times that by 100
right
for
now
Precious.
with,
I'm sure. How does Precious look in the new system?
eligible for this extension,
And I think tonight was like the first
it didn't happen. I thought, like,
real look at that.
It's
And
kind of like, I think if they were,
so it's really
I'll read
like
some of the
two.
chats. So,
He's almost like two
Precious,
different players. It feels like, and this was really the vibe last year. And so this is why it's a little bit disappointing. Like overall, I think he had a good impact in the game. Darko had him out there, even with like 45, 50 seconds left. I think Pirtle came in after,
and I think tonight was like the first.
But I thought like he didn't have a bad game or anything, but it was almost like every time that he wasn't in a specific role, it didn't go well. Like it was a turnover, he dribbled into traffic, it was messy.
Like overall,
and it's when he is like in his like wing Precious thing, which tonight there wasn't too many times of that, but there was enough where it was definitely noticeable. I noticed he took a 3 and was subbed out immediately after that. I'm not sure if that's like related. I think it was in the first or second quarter, but it was like every time he tried to do something, like create something, it didn't go well. And even Alvin, who like is really pretty chill on the broadcast, was like visibly like, kind of what are you doing? Like you've got shooters that are open. There's a potential actions to be run, and you're just kind of like dribbling in traffic. He took a 3 and was subbed out. And after that, I'm not sure if that's there was definitely a few plays where it felt like I'm almost watching last season. Every time where it's like, what's the plan here? Like he just seems to kind of go into these places and then not really know what to necessarily do when he gets there. But then conversely, on these finishes, he's like incredible. It's like no one else is catching that. The Raptors were like so inhibited by definitely a few the rim presence of Cat and Gobert. I thought Gobert was really going to take on offense. What's the plan here? Like wow, his free throws is incredible. Just I don't know what's I don't know. Him and it's even crazier than Yaki's finishes. He's like incredible. But yeah, on defense, like no one else. It felt like Precious was almost able to like break the seal or something. I can't remember if they were both on the floor when he was out there, but like his attacks on the rim felt like it just relieved some of the pressure because so much of what the Raptors were doing, whether it was Scotty or Pascal or Gary or even Dennis at the beginning, was like not working down low. So just getting that straight, beeline to the rim that he does, and it's almost like when he focuses on the rim, he's like such an effective. It's like Sean Kent is overselling him, but he's not obviously not that level, but like that magnetism and connection that he has with the rim is like a spirit. I think it's like a spiritual thing because like his finishes are just so aggressive, but also really graceful. But then outside of that, he even had a push shot or two that just doesn't. I don't know. For me, it just doesn't. I don't think it's going in when it's like from 12 feet away, and it's he's kind of like leaning a bit, and the push shot goes up. Like it's like I don't know. It doesn't look that refined. Magnetism and connection. I think the 3-point, like people were really big on the 3-point shooting. I think at the time I got really excited about it too. And then his numbers really dropped off after that. And I don't think enough gets talked about. Like I think other teams like adjusted to him more and covered him more, and he wasn't as open, and then his numbers dropped. And I think that's that's kind of unfortunate. But I just when I think of him, I don't think of a guy taking like 6 threes a game on the wing or whatever, and creating, driving and stuff like it. And to me, like this game, it just seems like his role is that, which I don't know. Like for contracts, obviously you're much more valuable if you have those wing qualities. But I think that's probably why he didn't get an extension and why they're looking. They want to see more evidence. When I think of him, I don't think. We'll get into OG in a sec. I'm gonna read some of the chats here. Did you like Scotty's pause? I did. I thought that was like because he's done that before. It's like, which I don't know. Like a bit of like you're much more valuable. Taunting, maybe like a bit of kind of. That's probably why he didn't look at this, but it was actually more like a tactical thing this time. So I liked it because you do want to get rid of the clock, get rid of as much some of the chats here time as possible. I did. I thought that was. It's called the shot. I don't know. I missed something. WL. Scotty's troll dunks to run out the clock is my spirit animal. Yeah, bro, Scotty Paws had me and my daughter dead. Rex don't like calling Gobert's goaltending. Yeah, there were a couple goaltendings. I thought that they missed. I missed. I buried the lead. I think the Raptor Moments episode from this is Dennis Schroeder's pass off the backboard. That was hilarious. I love that. Great game by Schroeder, though, by the way. Dang, Will Lou going to be out of a job when you take his post-game show from him? No. There's like, what? There's not that many Raptors content now. Like, I think in 5 or 10 years there will be like 100 times. I think it's pretty new. I buried the lead. I don't think anybody. I think the Raptor just takes episode from this is Dennis Schroeder's pass off the backboard. That was 5 years. Great game by Schroeder. Schroeder MVP. Schroeder World Champ MVP. How are you not the lead reporter on ESPN? It makes no sense to me. I mean, tell me about it. They won't even give me. There's not that many Raptors. Like I applied to be one of the food guys in like the media room who like brings the food out. You know, man, I would show up with like a lazy suit and everything. We'll talk about that in Dragon's Den section because one of the Dragon's Den guys was sitting courtside, and I have a personal real life experience. Schroeder Dragon's Den, Schroeder World Champ MVP. How are you not the lead? Nice fun game tonight. Today's game was the preseason championship. Both teams were undefeated. Like I applied. Yeah, they're both guys in like the media room. I don't know the Karen's type ends though. I don't know if that's. Man, I would show up with like a sure. We'll talk about that in Dragon. I don't know what that comment is. One of the Dragons guys. The unwavering focus as the old man in the back works his riz while chugging a margarita. You still managed to talk Raps during game tonight. Today's game was. I don't know what that. I don't know. Hey everyone. What's he ordering? Yeah, they're both. Yeah, I don't remember what I ordered, but it was very expensive. LFG. I like this guy's edited vids way more than this. Way more than his live zero chat reading and reply. That's Clinton Wiles. Thanks, Clinton. I talk about in therapy how I like don't have self-esteem. So yeah, you know, all the shots hit pretty hard. Shooter with a monster game. Free Chris Boucher or forget it. Hey everyone. Let's go. OG is a beast. So yeah, I don't remember what I ordered. LFG. I like this guy's edited vids way more than this. Way more than his live zero chat. That's Clinton Wiles. Oh shit, is this? I talk about in therapy how I know what I'm doing. I'm an idiot. Yeah. I'll fix this right now. All the shots hit. Did I fix it? I have the. Does that fix the audio? Sorry, everybody. Does that fix the audio? I'm at the restaurant. Like I can't. You know, these things are beyond my control. I got kitchen cooks throwing cigarette butts at me. I got Clinton telling me that I'm boring as shit. That I should just like hurt myself. Yeah, so OG Anunoby comes out in the fourth quarter. That's from the Wizards game. Okay, we got lots of notes here, folks. This is great for retention. No, the graphs are good though. After the stream goes, YouTube gives you the little analytic things, and yeah, like the graph. You know, people watch. You know, so take that, Clinton. Who? Look, imagine you see a baby and you're like, you know, let's name that thing Clinton. I like Bill so much. So the 14-3 run, end of the third quarter there for the Wolves, and it just had bad energy to it, and I think I'm kind of scarred because the Raptors have lost so many close games down the stretch. Last season, I think even the season before, and it's just kind of like I'm still in that point where if the Raptors don't have a 14-point lead going into and they had a 10-point lead at the end of the third, and then it just kind of all collapsed. And I need to look at the lineup for that was out there because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I just thought like OG came back on the floor and was like, okay, I'm gonna shut down Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. I'm gonna take the two Anthonys. Like I can do more than one Anthony at a time, and I'm gonna take both Anthonys and I'm gonna take them out at the knees. And that like it was not only like he was getting these like Scotty had 5 blocks as well. That's also, but I feel like the blocks that OG got like 2 minutes left in the game, he blocks Ant, huge play. and then like 19 seconds left in the game, he blocks Cat. Or like he did I don't know if he blocked him, but he like knocked the ball out, and then Scotty did the troll dunk. But like those two plays in and of itself are like game changing. But it was also his defense, his rebounding at the like he was like in like, at the start of the fourth quarter, like he was in there to fucking like get the ball and get that thing going as quick as possible. He was making great transition passes as well, like aggressive transition passes. He was finishing in transition. Like he was hobbling a bit there at the end. So hopefully nothing happened with that. But man, I just like, he just like picked up like the whole game in my opinion. And then everything kind of flowed from there. And the Raptors like came together. Dennis started, firing up again, and Dennis had some really good buckets down the stretch. And I thought the Raptors executed things like well down the stretch. I don't know if that's coaching, personnel, a mix of both, but I didn't think there were Pascal had a couple turnovers. I think Pascal did a couple tent pull threes. Those tents that just like go up, like just like they're just up. There's a couple of times where I think when he's got a taller guy on him, I don't know if this is from like the Noah system. Oh, they're stealing my Corvette. That's not good. That's the valet. He's just warming it up for me. He'll be fine. It'll be good. I told him to do that actually. The algorithm says create drama, so I don't do trade rumors. I do this stuff, so that's what it is. But yeah, no, like he picks up the vibe of the whole team, and the Wolves execution. Yeah. So the Wolves execution. Oh yeah. Pascal. So Pascal takes these like, there was one in the left corner, and it's almost like a tent, like just like a tent going up really quickly. And those ones like don't ever seem to go in. I don't know. His normal shot, which is more of, I talked about this last time, more of like a tricep extension. That's like his more normal shot. And I think he's like changing his trajectory based off of the guy closing out, but he's so tall. I don't know if, me is in my bedroom here, like, me asking an NBA player, do you need that high of a release point? I think your normal, tricep extension release point where you're pretty much like up here. I don't know if you need to be like almost Boucher-ish in a way, not quite as backward motion, but kind of anyways. Sorry, Pascal, if anybody in his family's watching or whatever. I'm sorry. Let's read some of the chats. What's Clinton up to in the chat? Will Steele says, "Let's go." OG is a beast, so good. You are echoing, so we already dealt with the echo. Sorry about the echoing, everybody. Good thing I wasn't reading the chat. Cool sunglasses, lots of sun at 10 p.m. in Toronto. Yes. Here at the restaurant, the sun, it's in a very special part of Toronto where the sun can come up at any moment. There's a sauna out back too. It's really just hooked up to the chicken wing fryer, but the smoke is really hot. I like boiling myself in it after the games. Dude, audio, this is a fever dream. Dual audio. What the fuck is this? This is what happens when you don't look at chat. Nightmare. William Seal is not having a fun time. Spooky season. Durlade. He's waiting for someone to donate. We're ascending, not on purpose, just sloppy. Higher levels of continuous. He's being true to the restaurant. Lots of background noise. Exactly. Am I having an LSD flashback? It is possible. Those do happen. I have never done LSD. I've done other psychedelics that I didn't enjoy all the time, but maybe one day. I'm only here to see if he fixes his audio or he'll talk for another hour. That's Clinton. Clinton really is not happy right now. Guys, it's basketball. What's going on here? Why is anybody upset? You're good now. It's so clear. Thank you. Here we go. Chris Wills, describe in detail how the Raptors can win 82 games this year. Road to 82-0. Yeah, I think the Vegas, what if the Raptors beat the Vegas odds by, I've never gambled before, but I hear that Vegas puts out odds. See, my car's still there. They're just, I told him I told him to drive around the block a little bit, create a buzz, let people know what's happening. Yeah, I think like they've performed they've outperformed their Vegas line by like 9 of the last 11 years or something to that extent. So I do think that they do get underrated a lot. So people who are like into betting, I think probably take advantage of that. I don't know if they're getting to 82, but I definitely think they're more than, what is it, 36 and a half. Whenever I think of the shot, it isn't MJ sinking the Jazz. That's what the guy meant with the shot. It's Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors winning the best playoff series that year against the 76ers. Pascal's shot is fine. What are you talking about? Dennis will definitely play like this the rest of the year. Hey from Ottawa, Ontario. Yeah, there's just something I noticed about Pascal's shot. It was only one, it was one of his shots. And it's weird to me, basketball maven, that I'm not allowed to do this, I guess. I don't know. I just noticed that like on one of his shots that his elbow seemed to extend to a point that was beyond, like, there's a law of diminishing returns when you're getting your release point up, and it seemed like something that was maybe for like the NOAA analytics system, and he didn't do it on the rest of his shots, so he probably fucking agrees with me, basketball maven. What is a maven? Can you tell me what a maven is? I don't know what a maven is, but it sounds cool. It sounds very like old timey, like a maven. Remember when OG body slammed Dennis Schroeder? You think they got over it, LMAO? Yeah, there was the vlog or whatever. I think like, I don't know. I think that stuff is probably just funny. Like, I don't think there was any like real beef. Can you summarize what you said about Precious again now that the restaurant is quiet? Yeah. Oh, a maven is an expert. That's cool. Hell yeah. Women out here with a flashlight. I think, does she have a dog or something? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, to reiterate with Precious, it's like he's, his position on the team is pretty unclear at this point in terms of like, obviously Jakob is the starting center, and Jakob's locked down for what, four for 80. Precious had the contract extension thing up for, whatever it was called. And it didn't go through. And the whole thing was like, the Raptors wanted to see how Pascal fits into the system. And if you want to see how Pascal fits, obviously you're going to want to see how Precious fits. And I think tonight, not to take a ton away from like a single game, but, like, fortunately he has these incredible rim finishes that are, you make highlight reels with them, and they're like, his magnetism towards the rim is like, gets you off your feet. But at the same time, every time he tries to create something on the perimeter, it just doesn't seem to go well. And we saw so much of this last year. And I thought that like him and OG were both earlier in the game kind of like driving into traffic a little bit, because like this is the team. So I think one of the other reasons that Scotty started a bit slow, and I think he ended up with like 15 points, and I mean that's like still pretty good, but I think one of the reasons why it was like difficult in this game is obviously in terms of scoring inside, this is what the Timberwolves is like, this is what they're like building their identity on. Like this is their thing. And I've heard a lot of people talk about like, oh, if things go shitty for the team, does that mean like, are they going to deal Cat away, or are they going to go back to, I don't know, from how they built this, like for what they gave up for Gobert, it really feels like the intention here is to like, and they extended Naz Reid again. So it's like, who's like, I think he's good. He had a pretty crazy spin move, but it seems like this is, this is something that they're like heavily invested in, and not like, oh fuck, we have too many centers, we need to get rid of one. Like, I think this is kind of the thing that they're trying. And again, I always like this when it's not the team that I'm cheering for, because usually these things don't really pan out. What happened to the BG beat, bruh? The BG beat. I don't know. Scotty nearly got a 3 in the key at the end, lol. I missed that. I think Precious and Gary will be the key off the bench to unlock this team's real potential. Yeah, I thought Gary played pretty good tonight. I don't feel like I remember a ton of Gary plays. There was a really nice 3 that I remember. His defense was really good. There's a couple close shots that I think he missed, but I'm not allowed to comment, apparently, on people missing shots, according to the Maven. So, yeah. But yeah, with Gary and Precious off the bench, I've noticed that McDaniels is also somebody who Darko really seems to like and is leaning on heavily for like bench, not production, but like bench minutes. And I just think like his play in transition, couple of his passes in transition, like his, like Darko's talking about like 0.5. I think that kind of goes back to OG's. Again, I'm not allowed to talk about shot mechanics to the Maven, but OG, like talking about his quick decision making, it's when he has time to think, that's when he kind of screws up. So like that's when he goes back to that old shooting form, his old shooting mechanics, when he has that, when he has that extra time, that extra space. Whereas when he's forced to make really quick decisions, it's, it's like there isn't that brain, part of the brain that kind of comes through and starts to overanalyze and overthink. Like if you've ever played sports before and you get into a flow of things, it's usually like you're not overthinking things, you're not thinking things. And I think with McDaniels, he has that naturally. Like he's just so, like he's not analyzing and or like over analyzing or taking in all this information and blah blah blah. Like he's moving the ball and then he's moving, and that sounds pretty basic, but for a team that really wants to play this way, and I also should say as well, in terms of moving the ball and moving, I thought Gary also had some really nice passes tonight, some really nice assists. And he really seems to have added that to his game. And that's probably one of those things that I would assume is at least partially buy-in, like getting buy-in that this is the system that will work the best, not only for him, but for the team. Because last year, like he was in, what's the stat? He was like the bottom percentile for, passing the ball, basically, kind of like the Cam Whitmore syndrome, I guess. Which I think is partially why that guy fell in the draft, was like he just, teams really, if like, unless you're just an insane ISO player, like if you're not passing, it really does kind of decrease your value. And I think maybe Gary realized that, or there was more buy-in in the system and just more of a willingness, because he is, like Will kind of pointed out on Twitter, like the joke of him like holding his pass for a really long, sorry, I'm not allowed to, is that okay, doing the mechanics there? Gary holding his pass, you can see that he's like actively making an effort to have more of that in his game. What was Gary Trent's shooting percentage tonight? I missed the game. I don't know off the top of my head. Who had the best claps on the court tonight? Good question. Malachi usually has some pretty good energy. He's usually up pretty quick. I've noticed, conspiracy theory. I like watching, like Marquise Noel does not look happy on the bench. Not that, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be either, but I've noticed like Malachi, even when shouts to Malachi, even when he like wasn't getting minutes, like he would be one of the first guys up at the timeout, like really vibing. So maybe I think Malachi had some claps. Malachi is another one. I know that no, I'm not supposed to talk about I'm not supposed to talk about shot mechanics, but another one with Malachi is again with the quickness. Like when he has a bunch of time, like when the closeout isn't really there and he has all this time, he's another guy who seems to kind of overthink it, maybe too many kind of moving parts in the shot and it doesn't go in. But I found this year on his threes, he's been a lot quicker. It's just been that like catch, bang. And those ones, again, kind of like OGs, those are hitting the back of the rim. Some of the time when he would make shots, you know, whether they were threes or whatever, he would get a lot of kind of like, you know, bounces or toilet bowls around the rim. When he does the quick release off the catch, a lot of those are just back of the throat, which is, not to keep requoting Nick, but like ideally it's better to hit, like mathematically, it's better to hit the back of the throat than the front in terms of shooting percentage. I don't know the physics on that, but that was when I found out that Nick Nurse was on the board of Noah, I went into a bit of a Noah dive, so I know some Noah shit. Do you think Darko purposely didn't play Boucher to get prime Boucher next game? Maybe he was injured or something, I don't know, but yeah, Boucher didn't play, which was just kind of odd. I thought Kyle Anderson or Lee Kyer, formerly Kyle Anderson, Lee Kyer, one of my favorite players in the NBA. I love he's like the slow, it's a slow fast game where most of the time it's like efficient. It's like really slow, but then he knows how to, when he gets into a gap that's big enough for him to have enough space, he knows exactly like when to like turn on the jets and just like take the space, make the pass, take the shot, whether it's like a floater or a kick out. But with him, I was talking about yoga last time. It almost feels like with him, like he's only doing like lower body yoga. Like he's disconnected from, like, his lower body is so, it's almost, this is a horrible comparison, but it's almost Shea-like in his just his ability to like really kind of lock in on like one foot, put a ton of weight into one foot, and then be able to kind of like do these very kind of uncharacteristic movement patterns that, you know, a lot of people will do, kind of like animal movements, like Ido Portal type shit. He almost looks like he does all the Ido Portal shit, but like not anything on the upper body, because then when he gets into a shot in his upper body, like his free throw in particular, it's, you know, talking about smooth mechanics, it's more of like a lurch and release than something that's like smooth and flowy. So yeah, I would I would add some of the more upper body yoga stuff, get that shot a little smoother, because I do love him. He played pretty badly tonight. I thought he had the new glasses on, which obviously I respect, with the goggles and everything, but I thought he was a little maybe like too slow. Like he didn't take that space. Like he kind of, like, I remember him last year too, but like especially on the Grizzlies, he really was like, because the Grizzlies, so like, you know, I guess not so much Desmond, but he felt like kind of an alien on that team, and I kind of like that. Like he was just this like random weapon that would come out, and he just didn't really have that feel tonight for me. It wasn't really hitting. Lee Kyer wasn't really hitting. I thought Gobert definitely had a couple goaltends, but I thought his defense was really good. He's definitely, is that a leaf or a rat? That's a leaf. Okay. I think my car's coming back pretty soon. I haven't seen it in 20 minutes, but it's a big block. You know, they got to drive it around the whole block, so it'll be here soon. Is that it? No. And he, like, the thing with Gobert though, that every year with like guys that get, you know, have this stature or get paid this much or have this like ego or persona, sometimes I'm just like how do you not have like a little bit more of a bag? Like just like even a free throw, like even if adding if Gobert added the free throw to his bag, like it would be, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I just expect more. Every time I watch Gobert, I'm expecting like a little bit more on the offensive front. And I'm just like consistently disappointed. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I'm just like, there's got to be like even some like drop step stuff. Like, can we learn? You know, he's a big guy. Like, I think he could be one of those. He could like bring back like no pun intended, like bring back to the basketball a little bit, especially with these they got 3 centers. I don't know. I think the 3 centers thing is cool because Cat's not a traditional center. Like, there was a couple plays, especially earlier, where I think that kind of fucked the Raptors up a little bit, where there was like 2 plays in the first half that were just open, like nobody at the rim, just like open layups. And then there was another one off an inbounds pass that Ant, I think, lost OG on a screen. OG and Pirtle got like kind of crossed cables, and I forget who. I think it might have been Ant. I think it was Ant who was just like wide open. There were a few of those, and I think that it just the way that they're constructed, I think it kind of does cause a bit of, because especially like, you know, not if you've got like Nas, Reed, and Gobert, and they're like screening a bunch, and then they didn't have McDaniels, but they've got like, I kept expecting Pat Bev. Like, I don't know, my brain. I think I've made 3 videos where Pat Bev was on the Wolves, and they're shutting the they're bringing the roof down a little bit here on the patio. Okay, that's good. Yeah, okay. What's going on in the chat? How many goaltends did Gobert get away with? I don't know, probably like 2 or 3. You can't control what part of the rim you hit. From the Maven himself. You cannot control what part of the rim you hit. Okay. I don't think your buddy coming back with the vet. Yeah, he's coming back. He just texted me. It's a long block. Anybody see that Spurs player with the one-handed free throw? Jeremy Sohan. I have seen that. I don't want to talk about how much Timberwolves gave up to get Gobert. Worst trade in NBA history. I don't want to think about how much. Yeah, I mean, well, Minnesota losing 4 first round draft picks is part of the brand. I was a big Minnesota Timberwolves fan as a kid. I had a Kevin Garnett jersey, number 21. You know, the blue and like the old. I loved the old jerseys. The 2 and the 1 just looked like the 1 like started out fat and like went down skinny, and it was a sweet jersey. And I was a Grizzlies fan growing up, so I felt a kinship with another very pathetic Western team that got ignored by everybody. So I always kind of had a soft spot for the Timberwolves. Alvin compared Ant to Kobe Bryant, which was aggressive. He walked it back instantly, but for me, he's more like a 2013 Paul George on the Pacers, like Pacers Paul George. Yeah, without the defense, I guess you would say. But yeah, no, he's definitely fun to watch. I thought OG did a really good job defending him. That's something I'd have to kind of watch back a second time to get more of a nuanced take on that. But yeah, because Ant went on like an 8-0 run in the first quarter. I felt like he was just like hitting everything. Also, Darko, in one of the timeouts, like the mic'd up thing had Darko being like, they're getting, you know, free throws and second chance points, and then I don't think their first free throw in the second half happened until like, you know, like the end of the third quarter or something, or the beginning, like it was, or the fourth quarter even. So the Raptors definitely changed their strategy, you know, in terms of those secondhand points. And I thought Anthony Edwards, you know, got neutralized more so out on the perimeter than, like they weren't even really letting him kind of operate. And there was one play where it was the fourth quarter. He did the, for lack of a better description, the James Harden, you know, through the leg, step back 3. And it just hit like it was like, you know, if that was in a finals game, that would get the Mike Breen bang. And while it hit, it was also like, man, where has that been in the last 2 quarters? Because it felt like at the beginning of the game, he was really able to operate. And then you know, as the game went on, they seemed to get, you know, better and better defensively on him. And so when he hit that shot at the end of the fourth quarter, like it was this big moment. But underneath that, I was kind of like, oh yeah, you know, like so I didn't think he was maybe aggressive enough, because for them on offense, at least, clearly, like he is the guy. I know Cat is like has talent and stuff, but I mean, I think if you're I think if you're that team in that situation, like I would want him to be operating more. Like even though he's getting defended more, um, like with more of a purpose, especially from OG, I still think that like getting through him is, you know, whatever. Ant showing Cat what a number one pick should look like. Yeah, I remember when he got picked number one. Remember he made that rap video like the day he got picked and was like, I would be able to play in like the NFL. I want to be a rapper. Basketball is like my third favorite thing or something like that. And I remember like James Wiseman was the next pick and then LaMelo was third. But I remember like the discourse, especially around like Wiseman and LaMelo, which is another story. But it's like, oh, James Wiseman, like he speaks Mandarin and makes music on Fruity Loops or something. And, you know, he's such a high character guy. And Anthony Edwards is making rap songs and LaMelo is tanking interviews. I can only imagine what a LaMelo Ball corporate interview would be like. And it was like James Wiseman, like hell of a young guy, you know, hell of a lad. And yeah, I think Anthony Edwards, yeah, he seemed to kind of have that like goofiness when he came into the NBA. And he has that, you know, that persona of that, but obviously he's like very fucking serious about being good at basketball. Because yeah, I mean, speaking of mechanics, he like it's just really pretty, and it does kind of remind me of Paul George. Like Paul George, you watch Paul George when you're really stoned, it is like one of the best things you can do, in my opinion. Very smooth. Ant-Man swims like Michael Phelps. Yeah, he definitely doesn't need yoga. Ant's one of those guys that does not. I got a Jordan Poole video coming out tomorrow. I think tomorrow. But yeah, Jordan Poole is like the only guy in the NBA who needs to do less yoga. But Ant's got the perfect like level of athleticism and flexibility. He's really fun to watch. And I think moving forward, like this year, I would be surprised if like so all these like podcasters and stuff that have the Wolves winning. I think the Vegas line was like 48 wins or something, and a lot of people are taking like I think Anthony Edwards has to have like a near MVP season to get the Wolves to like whatever people are saying they're gonna win what like 52 games or something. Like Anthony Edwards is gonna have to be incredible to do that, and I think tonight's game, for example, I just don't think he was either given enough opportunities down the stretch or they were taken away from like something happened where he was not operating. Like I would, if I'm a Wolves guy, Wolves coach, Wolves fan, like down the stretch, I want his usage rate at like 180%. Like I don't want, sorry, Lee Kyer, I'm sorry, Naz Reid with the spin moves and stuff. Like that guy has to be able to operate. And even if it's like a little bit more ISO heavy at the end of games, like he seems to have that. I've seen him in, you know, like yeah, Alvin was like, I don't know why Cat has this narrative around him. And it's like, well, every time he goes on a podcast, that's why. But, yeah, you know, I think that every time I watch the Wolves, I'm just, yeah, it's pretty clear what the path to them being a like crazy good team is. And, but then they also have this like funky three center thing. So I don't know. It is a weird team. It's kind of like, they're like I don't know. I don't think I'm the first person to say this, but they're almost like an inverted Pacers because the Pacers are running on all these point guards. Wolves are running on all these centers. It is a little bit Vision 690, maybe less of a commitment, but I guess with all those draft picks, I guess it is a pretty big commitment. Scotty, all defense first team this season. What do you guys think? Possible or not? Or all defensive team first. Okay, I guess my only thing for that would be how often I don't know this off the top of my head. My only thought of that is like, how often do people go from not second team right to first team? And I think that like OG has suffered from this too. Like I don't think American voters, this is not a hot take, watch the Raptors enough. Like even you know, Zach Lowe when you listen to Zach Lowe, you can pick up on these things where you're like, oh, these are talking points that you've had in your notebook for 4 years. You've not watched, like Nick Nurse was not really squatting last season. And yeah, there's just like certain things I'm like, that's not a recent point that you made. So I think a lot of people, I think it's going to take like it's going to be more of an effort for these like individual awards, especially like defense. He has every like, there's nothing stopping him from doing it. Like, I think it's definitely possible, like he has everything that you would want in a good defender, which is rare. Like, it's rare that you have somebody with that much IQ and that much size, and that's like huge on defense. So, yeah, he I mean, he already is like a really good defender. But yeah, he could be like a crazy person on defense, definitely. And I think if you're another team, like, that is kind of a horrifying defender, just with how fast he is and how much length he has, how he's able to read. Like, when you're a creative passer like Scotty is, you're often able to make really good reads on defense because you're kind of in their head a little bit. Like, you're not empathizing with them. That's not the right word. But when you're a player like Scotty that's so cerebral, when you're defending, you're like kind of reading more so what they're doing than maybe other guys who don't really process the game that way. And you combine that with the physical tools. Yeah, and I don't know if he thrived under like Nick's system necessarily as much as he could in different systems. I'm not totally sure about that. I'd be interested to see this year how that looks. But yeah, no, there's nothing stopping him from that. I think Scotty is more animated. PWL 7991. Scotty is more animated and demonstrative, so he'll get more attention for the media than OG. Yeah, it's also like, it's really funny. Like, I think like OG, for example, like he went on Will's show, and it was a really good interview. But there was like at the beginning when Will made a point about how like OG is so quiet and stuff, and OG's like, I don't know why people have that perception of me, and Will's just like, I think they've seen your interviews. Like, his personality and the way he plays. I mean, tonight he had some very, very like good plays, but it's almost like tonight, like you're going to see Precious on the highlight reel. You're going to see Scotty on the highlight reel. OG's role, yeah, it's like less sexy. And I think that's probably why a lot of people who listen to like NBA podcasts who maybe don't follow the Raptors so closely, I think are maybe surprised that the asking price for OG is like 4 first round picks, or whatever the rumor was, if that was true or not. But it seems like a decent amount of draft capital. And I think people kind of get caught off guard maybe because he's not like the bag Twitter favorite, like he actually, I was kind of horrified a little bit in like the first quarter. He did his like mid-range thing. It was there was like 17 seconds left on the shot clock. He kind of like went in, pivoted, spun, and then did a turnaround. Yeah, and you can't control where you shoot on the rim. So I learned that today. You can't control. And he shoots it like off kind of the back. So that's progress. Usually I find that they're off the front of the rim when he does the mid-range. So that was a bit of a a bit of an improvement, hitting the back like that. But I don't think he did that again in the game. And there's been a few times where I feel like he almost gets trapped in this like gambler's fallacy or something, where he's like, I missed the last one or two, I'm going to make the next one. It felt like he took that one shot, it was in the first quarter, and then from there on, it was much more of like his high percentage shots, which now are also to kind of important point 2.0. That's great. Very well said. Restaurants closing up here, but we're going to keep going a little bit. They might kick us out, but we're going to keep gonna keep rolling, a little bit longer here. But yeah, with what was I saying? With OG, like his above the break threes are some of the sexiest, and those had not been like he had been so married to the corner three, especially that left corner. I think at one point last year he had like the highest percentage over certain attempts per game, like from the left corner specifically, and it it was threes that he would often be like open for, or like moderately open for, because he's like tucked in the corner. And again, those, like I talked about before, like those are the shots where sometimes he has almost like too much time. But now in these above the break shots that he's hitting, these above the break threes, did a couple in preseason too, where he came off of his screen cutting, towards the middle. He did it to his left and to his right, so both sides, and he's hit some nice threes above the break coming off the screens that way, drifting either left or right. And I just didn't really see a lot of that in his game before. So I think that's like a huge thing that he's added, where he's not just this like, stand in the corner PJ Tucker style and hit these threes. And then today to kind of do that Kobe Anunoby, for lack of a better word, like these turnaround mid-range shots and just not having it work, and then immediately just going back to the three, which I've pointed out before, he has a higher percentage from three than he does from 10 to 16 feet. So like, go for the three basically. But yeah, I thought that was really the main storyline. Anybody in the chat, I forgot to do this for the chat. If anybody, tell me where you're where you're from, where you're chatting from, where people. I got a guy from Taipei or Taiwan last time. That was pretty cool. I think there was an Ottawa, home of Tom Green and the Ottawa Senators. This guy here is like really. This is a friend of mine. He's really bummed that the restaurant's closed, but he's texting an Uber or something. Did you catch Scotty and Jack Armstrong's commercial? No, I fast forward all the commercials. Also, don't forget that OG trained with Steph this offseason, so that's going to help him. Interesting. Because, yeah, like I was just thinking, those are the exact shots that Steph takes. Above the break, coming off the screen, moving laterally left or right. I mean, even getting a tip or two from Steph, I'm sure is gonna. I might use that. I'm gonna give you credit for that if I use that. Who was that? Mazar M. Thank you for that. Because I was thinking about doing a video on that, and that could be a cool little thing to add in. Got some drama here from the closing time. Closing time music is on at the restaurant here. They're kicking everybody out. Milton, Ontario. I know that is like between Oakville and Hamilton, but to the northwest, I think. And I think the GO train goes there to Milton, I think. Thoughts on Malachi just being a sad human? I don't know. Doesn't seem that sad. Malachi's from where I'm from, Pacific Northwest. Lots of depression, lots of serial killers, lots of rain, lots of coffee. It's a different vibe out here. Like think about the NBA players from Seattle as well. It's the same, there's a DeJounte Murray, Nate Robinson, Kevin Porter Jr., Isaiah Thomas. There's stuff happening up here, we need an NBA. Collingwood. Oh, Calgary. I spent the summer of 2013 in High River, and it was like the worst flood of all time. And I was doing flood restoration, so used to go to Calgary a couple times. We'd work 21 days on, 2 days off, go to Calgary, go to the hookah bar, walk around Calgary a little bit. Toronto, Ontario. I've heard of that place. It's between GTA and Waterloo, sort of. Are you from Seattle? From Vancouver? It's basically the same thing. It's just one long suburb. A lot of Denny's on the highway in between the two. It's at the end of the GO train line. I knew it. Do you guys know about Old Comer Station? That's a GO train station. Old Comer. I think it's in North York. Maybe I should try to get them as a sponsor. Just the station. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up here. Raptors win by 3 points. Give the Anvil Award to Chris Boucher because I don't know what happened there. Tony Wonder Award. I'm going to give that to OG. I don't know how he did that. Fourth quarter, just picked up the team on defense, and then on offense, both in transition and in the half court. He was like a savior. It was incredible. Yeah, I think any last closing time. The restaurant's closing us out. I got restaurant guys are yelling at me. My car is going to be back at any moment. The Corvette's coming back, the yellow Corvette that matches the headband that the lighting really does not like in this place. So gonna figure that out a little bit, but DIY recording here from the restaurant. Please mention the flood restoration story at least once every post-game show. Yeah, that was like a zombie apocalypse. Like that's where the flood hit the worst. So there was just streets filled with like washers, dryers, dishwashers, like warped, like all crazy warped. Almost like it just was like like Blade Runner or something. It just was like this insane dystopia, and we worked from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the food was rough. I went there as a vegetarian and did not really do well. London, Ontario, or London. I think like 90% of the music I listen to comes from either Bristol or areas of London. So, and Jane and Dundas in Toronto, very specific. I don't know where that is, but there is a Dundas Street in Vancouver as well. So maybe he was a guy or something. Yeah, they're really getting mad at me here. They got the chairs. I think they're gonna be bringing these chairs in pretty quick here. Really nice. Really want to thank the Toronto Grill here for letting us film. Incredible restaurant here in Toronto, and yeah, Raptors are undefeated. So yeah.